Aloha, and welcome to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, a podcast presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, sharing conversations from the Feast Summit at the annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Here, leaders across food, education, agriculture, sustainability, and tourism come together to explore the future of food systems and hospitality, and how culinary sits at the center of the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond. In this Feast Dish episode, we feature keynote speaker Elizabeth Blau, acclaimed restaurateur, hospitality leader, and founder and CEO of Blau Associates, from the Feast Summit stage. Recorded live at the summit, Blau shares insights from her work transforming the culinary scene in Las Vegas, illustrating how thoughtful dining concepts can create vibrant neighborhoods, attract investment, and deliver lasting value to developments around the world.
I'm so thrilled to be here in Hawaii at the festival. Huge thanks to Denise and Roy Yamaguchi, who, Roy, I don't even want to admit how long we've been friends. But it's thrilling to be here and with my fellow panelists and my husband, who is here supporting and will be part of the matcha brunch on Sunday. So really thrilled to be here to talk about this topic, because obviously this is really near and dear to me. And the business of dining, I don't think, really could be any more exciting and extraordinary right now. So a little bit about my background. I've been in Las Vegas for almost 28 years, and while this sign looks like it's so old with the $1.99 brunch, and the only thing missing is the 99-cent shrimp cocktail, but you know, this was 28 years ago when I moved to Las Vegas. This was the landscape. Food was an amenity. It wasn't a driving force, and nobody was really focused on culinary. What transformed that? It was really the opening of Bellagio. Steve Wynn's hotel really kind of set the stage. So many celebrity chefs became a part of that. And then it was a domino effect with the Venetian and Mandalay Bay and so many other places to today. We've also become a sports hub. That photo at the bottom is F1, where the strip is absolutely electrified and lit up at night. And so what this illustrates is, yes, it was a transformation of Las Vegas, but this transformation is really happening around the world. And it's not just happening in luxury casino resorts, it's happening in museums. It's happening in sports arenas. It's happening in airports. It's happening in small cities and in rural destinations. This phenomena of restaurants anchoring has really been, you know, the evolution from what we would see in a mall, where we would see anchor department stores. Really, the only thing on a retail side that's left that's as powerful as what you can equate to the restaurant business is an Apple store. But other than that, it's really what differentiates has really become restaurants. I could talk to you for hours on this topic, and so what I decided today was really to focus on the luxury side and what is happening and what is trending on the hotel and resort side around the world, because as I said, this has touched every level of our various industries, and so you know, we could go off in so many directions. Cuisine really has become mainstream. If you think about it, there's 24-hour food television. Every major food network, every major news network is featuring chefs, is featuring restaurateurs, is featuring culinary programs. They're featuring our cookbooks, and so there just seems to be, no pun intended, an insatiable appetite for what's happening in our business, which is what makes it so exciting right now.
You're listening to Feast, Dish and Dialogue, conversations from the Feast Summit exploring how food, culture, and hospitality shape the visitor experience in Hawaii and beyond.
When you look at resorts and you look specifically at luxury resorts, I mean, think about it. What differentiates? I mean, yes, they all have, 600 thread count sheets. They all have 5-piece bathrooms. They all have spa and fitness. But really, what is making Marriott different from Hyatt, which is different from One and Only, is really food and beverage. And so I think that's what's exciting for all of us. We work on projects around the world, and so, whether you're looking at this incredible transformation in terms of the Crown Prince's 2030 vision project for Saudi Arabia, to what's happening and the Red Sea Global, where you literally took 25 miles of unspoiled coral reefs and places that people had never visited before, and created an infrastructure and airports and hotels and countless restaurants and golf courses to create the entire kingdom of Saudi Arabia as a destination. And it's not just hundreds of restaurants or hotels that are coming, it's literally thousands. And so while we've seen aggressive development in Las Vegas and in Macau and in Singapore, the world has not seen anything like what is happening in the Middle East. The same with Dubai. When they run out of land, what do? They build islands. They just landfill and continue to expand. So the pace is truly breathtaking. And while the progress is maybe a little slower in European countries, there's still a lot of development. I mean, just look at what's happened in the last few years in London. The Raffles was a project that we got to work on in the old War Office. That's where all the James Bond MI5 scenes were meant to be filmed, and now that's the first Raffles in London. The Rosewood in the old American Embassy just opened, and they brought an American brand, Carbones, to anchor that space, and so that development has been wildly successful as well. So when we talk about the differentiators in the restaurant experience, people are getting so creative. And so, I mean, I just wanted to pull a few examples to you. At the Rosewood in London, they did something as part of their 3-meal restaurant called the Pie Room. I mean, that's absolute heaven for me. And so you can actually view into it from the street, and it's all full of copper pans and pies, and they're making both sweet and savory pies for the restaurant. But it's just a little creative touch that adds so much PR and marketing value. And of course, those pies are incredibly delicious. Montage in Cabo is a great example of a luxury resort with traditional hotel restaurants. And they wanted to just do something fun in Mexico, and they had a food truck. And they brought in a really talented chef from Thailand, and it was just kind of, on a lark, and it was so incredibly successful that they created this whole outdoor food park, and now it is still anchored by the food truck, but there's also a kitchen behind it because it's really become one of their most successful outlets. And then, when you think of something like Gramercy Tavern and you think of Danny Meyer, and if you haven't read his book, it's definitely worth doing. There's also something to be said about not just creating from a culinary standpoint, but really creating a state-of-the-art service culture. And so that is really something in tandem with what we're seeing all around is creating a service culture, creating a beverage culture. I don't think there's ever been a more exciting time for wine, spirits, mixologists, and even craft breweries. So, it's endless, the levels of layering that you can create when creating these destination spots. When you talk about all-day dining, I wish that term could be completely banished. You have to define hotel dining as a 3-meal restaurant, but that has become such an obsolete term. I like to say, it's a restaurant that happens to serve breakfast, so that we create these destinations, because think of how valuable this real estate is in resort and hotel properties. And so if all you're doing is feeding your guests at breakfast, you've really failed in terms of really activating that real estate. And so these are 4 examples around the world of concepts that really stand out.
Feast, Dish and Dialogue is presented by the Hawaii Ag and Culinary Alliance, the nonprofit organization behind the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Founded to strengthen Hawaii's culinary and agricultural industries, HACA connects world-class culinary events with year-round investment in education, workforce development, and local agriculture. Through programs that support students, entrepreneurs, farmers, and hospitality professionals, HACA works to ensure Hawaii's food and hospitality ecosystem continues to grow, innovate, and thrive.
Trends that set you apart in Delilah, which is in West Hollywood, Las Vegas, and now is opened in Miami. It's a supper club, kind of harking back to what was big in the early 1900s in New York or in Los Angeles, and so bringing entertainment and glamour back to dining. Having fun, so what Black Tap or Barton G's. I mean, all the chefs that work with us cringe when I say, okay, are these dishes Instagrammable? But that's the age that we live in, and there's no more valuable tool than marketing through Snapchat or YouTube or Instagram or TikTok. And so we have to think about that when we're creating new dishes, new menu changes, and certainly when you're thinking about new concepts. Speakeasies, taking what could have been, like a terrible, space or location now has become hot. People like having to go through a kitchen or through a backdoor channel to get somewhere. And so these little tiny spaces have become, again, revenue generators and also a tremendous opportunity for press and buzz of these hidden secret spaces. In the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas, there's a secret pizza space that does $4 million in business. So there's no frontage. It's completely word of mouth. You go down a hallway that looks like you're heading into the back of the house, and there's a New York-looking by the slice pizza place, and that's the whole DNA of it. It's secret pizza. So these are just some of the examples. Pop-ups. So really one of the most kind of trending ideas right now are pop-ups, and they are so incredibly successful because it's these collaborations between either unexpected chefs, between retail brands. In Los Angeles, Dominique Crenn just opened a full-scale restaurant in partnership with Dior. But these are they're fun. They're a low cost of entry because you don't have to, completely refigure a space. But whether it's Taylor Sheridan and his Yellowstone series and his 4 Sixes Ranch at the Wynn, Dishoom just did a partnership with Pastis, a French restaurant. So you have a French and Indian collaboration. Baron Jack, which is a phenomenal wood fire Persian concept out of London, partnering with Soho House. But these are, and I think really, something that kind of was an extension of things like these food and wine festivals and like the extraordinary event that that you had last night, where so many chefs are working together and collaborating. Yesterday it was in celebration of the life of Charles Phan, but these have kind of sprung from that idea and have been very successful. Netflix has its Chef's Table, but now is anchoring in brick and mortar spaces, which are representing part of their shows. Last time we were in London, there was probably a half a dozen, tea programs that were taking inspiration from movies or television or, a Downton Abbey tea, and has really in London made afternoon tea into its own successful meal category, sort of like an afternoon brunch.
If today's conversation inspires you, we invite you to experience it in person at the Feast Summit, returning Thursday, November 5th, 2026 in Honolulu during the 16th Annual Hawaii Food and Wine Festival. Mark your calendars, tickets go on sale this May. Learn more at hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com.
My takeaway here is stay inspired, because this is the time, this is the power of collaborating with restaurants in every sort of development that you can imagine. When you walk through the airports, so many airports around the country are now partnering with local purveyors. I just walked through the marketplace here, and those are the kind of things that excite people. When you travel and all you do is see the same brands, I mean, listen, don't get me wrong, I love seeing Louis Vuitton and Dior, but when all you're seeing is the same Starbucks or, the same Chick-fil-A or the same, I'm not going to say any of the celebrity chef concepts that are all over, but when you keep seeing the same, it's not as exciting as seeing things that are curated, are local, are celebrating our farmers and our distillers and, and people that are really doing things special. So when I walk through a marketplace like that and see things like octopus chips and people, doing all kinds of sauces and chocolates as part of Hawaii. And so I think you're going to see more of that reflected, today as real estate developers around the world really look to do things that are bespoke. And again, whether it's their museum, whether it's their hotel, whether it's their shopping center, whether it's their airport, really making things different. So thank you for being here today, and if you have any questions after the panel, we're going to be available to answer. So thank you all.
Mahalo for listening to Feast, Dish, and Dialogue. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe and share it with someone passionate about food, agriculture, and hospitality. To learn more about the Feast Summit and the Hawaii Food and Wine Festival, visit hawaiifoodandwinefestival.com. Be sure to join us for the next episode of Feast, Dish, and Dialogue.